it all kind of came at once. I thought, my dream was to have a little extraction company out of my garage. Just, I thought farmers would bring me plant material, pay me, I turned it into oil for them, they'd sell it. And then I realized quickly that farmers didn't want to sell oil. Farmers wanted to farm and sell their plant material. So I started selling, the oils and isolates.
Welcome to the Leadership Loading Podcast. I'm Jason McClaren. My guest today is Craig Henderson. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Definitely. So, Craig, let's start off. You were in the military. What branch? Army?
Army, yep, infantry.
All right. So, what led you to join the military?
My dad was a Marine. Um, I was actually born on Marine Corps base, 29 Palms, California. And my whole life, I think the stories he told me really inspired me to want to go into the military and, really just push myself and do all I could do. And then, right when I was graduating high school, September 11th happened. I think it happened a few months after I graduated. And then I joined the military. I was questioning whether I wanted to join the military at that time or not. And as soon as September 11th happened, I joined.
All right. So, and your infantry, you received the ARCOM Valor Award.
Yep, ARCOM
And
Valor with yeah.
and so, how long did you serve?
I was active duty between 2004 and 2007. Or I'm sorry, 2002 and 2000 for 4 years. 4 years. I forget the time frame. I was in Iraq between 2004 and 2005, where I received that ARCOM with Valor. I was actually put in for a Bronze Star, and they reduced it down to an ARCOM with Valor.
Yeah, I heard they were modifying awards a lot back then. I believe
Yeah,
about
those
that
early
time I was
days, they had
in.
a hard time giving young privates big awards.
Yeah, that time, around that time, I was in either Kuwait or Bahrain. I can't remember right now, but those were my only deployments when I was Air Force. So we were just supporting you guys over there. So definitely cool.
Nice.
So after you got out, you started getting interested in things that would help veterans.
Um, Started working on over here at Extract Labs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got out of the military, decided I wanted to go to college, ended up getting my bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering. And while I was in college, around 2009, 2010 timeframe, I started noticing cannabis get legalized, or partially legalized in California, Colorado. And that really intrigued me. Whole time I was in the military, I've never been a cannabis user, but while I was in the military, alcohol was uh, almost heavily promoted. People talked
Right.
about it a lot. It was normal. It was okay to go get shit faced on the weekend, but God forbid a soldier touch weed, which, I agreed with at the time. But then I had some really good friends, really good people that enjoyed weed and ended up getting kicked out of the military. And that's when it kind of, brought up the question, like, why is this so bad? These guys are good people. I saw them smoke weed. I didn't think it was all that awful. And so it really intrigued me, like what benefits cannabis actually does have. So when I saw it going legal and hearing the stories about how it can help people, I thought, maybe there's an opportunity here. I see that this maybe one day the world will accept this. And, I kind of always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So when I got out of college, I decided to try to get involved in the cannabis industry.
All right. And you're using it mainly for PTSD, or is it for other things also?
Yeah, so I got out of college. I worked for an extraction company. My job was to teach people how to turn cannabis, marijuana at the time, into oils. Again, I still never fell in love with THC. It just never did the right thing for me. I tried it a few times and made me very paranoid. So I never understood how some people could benefit from it, and people like myself hated it. It just didn't sit well with me. Then I discovered CBD in 2014, 2015. And I thought, wow, okay, this might have some, might not be huge. It might just be for a small group of people, but I think there's some health benefits here. And that's when I started Extract Labs. And then, the company grew much bigger than I ever imagined. And yeah, it was for stress, pain. It's pretty much all the benefits of cannabis without getting high. There's a lot of people that talk about how much THC helps. And really, cannabis in general, there's a lot of cannabinoids that help. THC is just the one that gets you really high, and there's benefits without getting high, and there's not everyone likes to get high.
Right. And on the extraction side, like you're extracting this out of a cannabis plant.
Yep. So they call it hemp. Hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. Marijuana is just something high in THC. Hemp is something that's just, the government definition below 0.3% THC, but it could have a, variety of cannabinoids. Everyone's familiar with CBD. It could be high in CBC. It could be high in CBG. And we offer products. We started off as just a CBD company, but we started making other products for other ailments.
Awesome. So when you extract it, is it like a liquid or you put it into like edibles, I guess they call them?
Yep. So when we extract it, it comes out as like an oil. Then there's a refinement process. It cleans up that oil a little bit. Then we can actually isolate out certain cannabinoids. So those oils might have, what we call full spectrum. It might have CBD, CBG, CBN, THC. And some people like that full spectrum, and other people just like myself. I don't like the THC, so I prefer a THC-free, CBD only product. We take that oil, we put it into gummies, we put it into tinctures, soft gels. We have some vapable products. Topicals is one of my favorite ways.
Cool. So like around my neighborhood, I'm in Texas. I think you're in Colorado. Around my neighborhood, I always see these stores that they'll say like CBD A or B or something on the sign. I know you're really focused on organic products, right?
Hmm.
And so what do we want to look for, say I'm a veteran, I've got, back pain or whatever. I'm a newbie. What do I want to start looking for when I go to one of these places?
I guess you might want to try a few things out. You might want to talk to people there because there's obviously CBD is the number one that everyone's selling. And then, like you said, there's CBDA, CBGA, CBC. Some things work for pain, some things work for sleep, like CBN. So you got to target what it is you're looking for. If you're looking for sleep, then maybe it's just CBD or CBN. Then you got to determine, are you a full spec kind of person? Do you want that little bit of THC, or do you prefer no THC? Like myself, I take for bed just about 300 milligrams of pure CBD isolate in a capsule form, whereas other people swear that they prefer the CBN or the THC. So just like modern day medicine, there's a bunch of different antidepressants out there, Prozac and Zoloft, and some people have really good effects with one, and some people have really good effects with the other. So there is no one cure all. You really, I guess, need to kind of experiment and see what it is you're looking for and what helps you.
And how can people reach out to you directly or on your website, or they can buy stuff from you directly?
Yep, extractlabs.com. We ship nationwide. We actually ship to other countries. We offer a veteran discount. So we actually offer a lot of discounts. Veteran, first responders, teachers, healthcare workers, low income, 60% off. So anything you see on our website, you get 60% off all the time. You just got to apply, send over proof that you're a veteran or a first responder, healthcare worker. And that's one way we really try to give back to, the low income community or, first responders and veterans.
And are you direct? I mean, I know you're a direct consumer, but are you wholesaling too? Are you selling to these vape stores and all, these dispensaries around the area?
Yeah, we're in probably 400 stores nationwide, all smaller stores like you had mentioned, little CBD shops, mom and pop shops, a few spas. We're not in any big box retailers at the moment. We just never really focused on that. We've always been about smaller stores. I'd like to one day get into Sprouts or Whole Foods would be really cool. But most of our business is, you go to our website, it's free shipping as long as you're over, I think, $60, and we'll ship directly to your door. It only takes a couple days.
All right. So we've talked about what you're doing now. So let's talk about the business side. Like, okay, you got this idea. I'm going to do this CBD thing. What was one of your first hurdles you had to get through to get going?
It all kind of came at once. I thought, my dream was to have a little extraction company out of my garage. Just, I thought farmers would bring me plant material, pay me, I turned it into oil for them, they'd sell it. And then I realized quickly that farmers didn't want to sell oil. Farmers wanted to farm and sell their plant material. So I started selling, the oils and isolates. And then I realized, that people wanted products made. So I think it's just the biggest hurdle in the beginning was I had no idea what I was doing. And I was just kind of learning as I was going and evolving very quickly. Trying to take on a lot of things all at once. Some were working, some weren't working. And I had to be able to change my business model, almost weekly in the beginning, to chase whatever seemed to work best.
Yeah, I think, as veterans and business owners, we got to pivot like that because, especially if you're getting into something you haven't been formally trained in or it's not your background. I think a lot of veterans do that. They get out of the military and obviously you're not going to be an infantry guy when you get out, or I was a firefighter. But we do something, that we want to do that, like you said, is your passion and your goal. But yeah, sometimes you just have to learn through different hurdles and hoops and just trial by
Yeah, a lot of
fire.
failures, a lot of thinking this is going to work, it doesn't work. So you just got to quickly move on. That's one thing I've take pride in is if I do chase after something I think is going to work and it starts failing, you got to be able to make the call immediately and not get too deep into it.
All right. And then I had a note that the dogs and I'm a big dog guy. So how do dogs and cats help with anxiety and pain in CBD? I just want to get that in there before. we
Yeah,
start
they have the
heading out.
same endocannabinoid system that we have. A lot of living animals do. So, what works for us works for them, just in smaller amounts. Just like nowadays, you can get your pets pain medicine the same way we take pain medicine, depressant medicine, sleep medication. So, yeah, it works for them just like it does humans.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I got one older dog that, he has some muscle aches and things, and then I got another one that's super hyper. So maybe I can try it on them.
Yeah, I can
Um,
send you.
awesome. And then going back to the medication, I know I'm a big prep guy, and they do say, you can use animal medications. Not that I'm teaching people about this right now, but if you ever watch Preppers or any of those shows, they talk about, you can get the animal meds because a lot of them are similar to the human meds for emergency
Exactly.
situations. All right, Craig. So yeah, you mentioned your URL earlier. Any other ways we can get a hold of you if you wanted to reach out?
Um, yeah, pretty much just a website. If you ever want to talk directly to me, you can get on our chat system and just ask to speak with me, and our customer service girls will connect you to me.
All right. Anything else we need to let the listeners know?
No, I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good deal. Thanks, sir.
All right, you have a good one.
Hey, everybody. This episode of the Leadership Loading Podcast was brought to you by Go Heroes Inc., goheroes.org. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go ahead and check out our website or email us, and we'll get you all the information you need.
There are thousands of leadership and management podcasts to choose from. We're glad you chose the Leadership Loading Podcast, a Go Heroes production. If you'd like to support Go Heroes Inc., visit www.goheroes.org. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's all grow together. Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. Leadership inspired.